She was free. The irony of the thought made Alexandria smile. Here she stood in the unprotected shadows of night amid the deserted warehouses of London's unsavoury docks. She was totally alone but for a relentless dream and a well-thought-out plan to guide her. Yet she felt no fear, only exhilaration. She had waited long enough. It was time. She inched her way through the narrow path between the buildings and paused to listen. Instinct told her it was safe. Cautiously, she stepped out into the inky blackness. The March night was cold and gloomier than usual due to the heavy fog that clung to the wharf and hid the Thames from view. But Alexandria could feel the river's presence. She had a sixth sense for the water, a born sailor, her father had once grudgingly admitted. Of course, sailing in a sheltered cove off the English Channel was quite different from sailing the ocean in a storm. But then, the weather was the captain's concern, not hers. All she had to worry about was getting to the ship. The ship that, according to the answers to her discreet questions, would be departing at daybreak. Alexandria stretched her cramped limbs. She had stood pressed against that blasted brick warehouse wall since 4 o'clock, when the gatekeeper officially closed the docks for the day. Hardly daring to breathe, she had heard the sounds of the busy wharf subside, the hoists and winches ceasing to unload cargo, the workers filing out, jovial at day's end. At last, all had grown quiet, but still she dared not move, not until she could be concealed by darkness. Until now, it had seemed an eternity. The pungent smell of beer accosted her, together with a burst of raucous laughter that caused Alexandria to start. But it was only the sailors who frequented the numerous alehouses along the docks, celebrating their last night of freedom before taking to the sea. Soon, the intoxicated revellers began to sing a cheerful bawdy tune in exuberant, though slightly off-key voices. Alexandra grinned. There was no danger here. The men were too deep in their cups to notice her, unless, of course, they mistook her for one of their doxies, she thought with a troubled frown. Another howl of laughter sent her scurrying along. The blood pulsed through her veins, faster and faster. A delicate apparition in the night, Alexandria looked anything but a doxy. Her muslin gown was of a rich Devonshire brown, its simple skirts rustling about her ankles with each rapid step of her slippered feet. To avoid tripping, she stilled the movement by clutching the soft folds between her nervous fingers. Although she possessed an innate regal carriage and grace that bespoke noble birth, Alexandria was aware that soon she would be transformed from a well-bred miss to an outcast of the haute ton. Pushing these thoughts aside, she moved silently over the wooden boards of the dock. She could make out the dim outlines of the ships now, their wooden hulls bobbing and tugging to be set free. But the powerful hawsers that bound them securely to the dock were stubborn and would not relent. The tall masts, bare and waiting for their sails to be hoisted, towered above the decks and were but vague shadows in the murky sky.